And Chicago, we have to help her win. Because we know that Donald Trump would sell this country for $1 if it meant lining his own pockets and greasing the palms of his Wall Street friends.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez told her fellow Democrats that, she might stop supporting primary challengers to Democratic incumbents in her attempt to chair the House Oversight Committee. Now, the reporting comes from Politico, which cited 3 people familiar with her remarks. So how well did that strategy work out for her? Let's take a look.
Ana Kasparian didn't just spill the tea. She dumped the whole pot on live TV, calling out Ocasio-Cortez in real time with no edits, no mercy, and no holding back.
This bill is a deal with the devil. President Trump, you're either being lied to or you are lying to the American people.
So it seems like, for the most part, the Democratic Party is listening to Biden. AOC aside, earlier in the show, we were talking about Hakeem Jeffries, how he was basically keeping his powder dry until he kind of felt the temperature in the room to figure out where most elected Democrats stand on the issue of Biden potentially stepping down from this race. Well, he has now come out with a statement and he's sharing what he thinks about Biden remaining in the race. Let's watch.
You support Joe Biden staying as.
If you're enjoying this, please subscribe. It helps more than you know. Ana Kasparian, with that I've had enough look, dropped a truth grenade on live TV, shattering AOC's polished image instantly.
How she would step up for us now in the way the person said that Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Jasmine Crockett and Senator Bernie Sanders have been screaming, enraged, passionate in response to the Trump administration. And here's how Slotkin responded. Everyone you mentioned has a lot of words, but what have they actually done to change the situation with Donald Trump and the cuts and the attacks on our judiciary and the attacks on our Constitution? Slotkin asked.
This wasn't your typical political back and forth. It was one of those rare slow motion moments where the internet collectively gasps. Did that really just happen? A carefully curated brand buckled under the weight of raw, unscripted truth. And the audience didn't just watch it unfold, they savored every second.
We know conservative men are obsessed with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's young, dynamic, strong, and incredibly effective in pushing for the economic and environmental values that resonate with most Americans. Ironically, each time a conservative attacks her, she just becomes more popular. And every once in a while, progressives are gifted with pure comedy gold, like the AOC attack video you're about to watch.
The brains.
AOC walked in expecting applause, a few softballs, and a chance to drop TikTok-ready one-liners. What she didn't expect was Ana Kasparian coming at her like a political action hero, armed with razor-sharp receipts. Suddenly, it wasn't about policies or buzzwords. It was about a secret buried so deep, it'd take a backhoe and a team of archaeologists to unearth it.
I do actually think that people care about justice. I do actually think that people want fairness.
Yes.
However, I don't think it's necessarily the cause or causes that AOC promotes. It's the way in which she, and yes, also Jasmine.
And the best part? Ana didn't whisper it. She didn't ease it in with polite banter. She dropped it like a grand piano from a third-floor window. The crash was deafening, silencing the entire studio. That's the beauty and danger of live TV. No handlers, no edits, no spin. Once it's said, it's out there. And this wasn't some quirky fact about AOC's coffee order. This was a bombshell that struck at the core of her carefully built image as the fearless, untouchable voice of the people. Suddenly, the brand had a crack, and Ana was holding the ink that made it visible.
Election cycle, 71% of voters were white. Can you guys just maybe for a little while hold off on talking about how much you hate white people? Just for a little while.
Well, I mean,
I know that that's in vogue for Democrats right now to lump every white person in America together.
Yeah,
doesn't matter if you're Armenian, didn't speak English as your first language and your parents were refugees from a Soviet-controlled country, you have light skin, so you're exactly the same as like an American racist that has ancestors who own slaves. Yeah, right off. How about that?
This time, you could almost hear producers backstage choking on their clipboards. The audience sat frozen, unsure whether to gasp, applaud, or just refresh Twitter to confirm they weren't the only ones witnessing the bombshell. Naturally, the internet did what it does best. Within minutes, clips were everywhere, spreading faster than conspiracy theories in a Facebook comment thread. Hashtags bloomed, memes exploded. One side clutched pearls like Victorian nobles scandalized by exposed ankles, while the other danced across digital timelines like they just scored VIP bottle service. And on camera, you could see the micro-expressions, darting eyes, twitching lips, the math happening behind a frozen smile. It was like watching someone realize they left the oven on, mid-flight to Paris. Ana's timing was flawless. Because here's the thing. AOC's entire political brand is built on image management. Every speech, every Instagram live, every polished photo op reinforces her identity as the fearless, unshakable progressive warrior. Until now.
You know someone is about to say something extremely compelling when he presents his findings like Family Guy's Trisha House Speaker. But the best part about her is that she unapologetically demands progressive economic reforms. She's a force to be reckoned with, which is likely the reason why the right wing is terrified of her. When Ocasio-Cortez isn't being ridiculed over her choice of clothing, free market right-wingers go on the attack over her economic principles and policies.
Ana didn't just dent AOC's image. She bulldozed straight through it, exposing the raw, unfiltered truth behind the persona. And no, this wasn't some outlandish reveal that AOC is secretly a lizard person or moonlighting as CEO of Big Oil. It was worse. A hypocrisy so blatant, so obvious once said aloud, that viewers suddenly felt duped, like they'd unknowingly bought into a carefully packaged illusion. That's the thing about politics. People don't just support candidates. They believe in them like kids believe in superheroes, flawless, incorruptible, uncompromising. And in one perfectly timed live moment, Ana pulled the curtain back. Behind the cape and slogans was a contradiction hiding in plain sight. AOC couldn't clap back, couldn't pivot with a catchy one-liner or drown it in word salad. Ana had her cornered with truth, and when truth hits that hard, silence follows. By the time the segment ended, it was too late. The internet had already done what PR teams fear most: spread the truth unfiltered.
Kamala Harris's decisive loss last week, Representative Ocasio-Cortez wanted to get some answers on how it could be that some of the voters in her district could cast their ballots for her, but vote for Donald Trump for president. Now, AOC's district swung to Trump by one of the highest margins among New York voters. And, you know, it's pretty big. It's a big deal. So in 2020, Trump won 22% of the vote in AOC's district compared to Joe Biden's 77%. Harris did not fare nearly as well. Support for Trump jumped to 33%, and support for Harris dropped to 65%. Now, AOC won overwhelmingly again last week. She's still very popular in her district. She earned about...
The fallout wasn't some dramatic meltdown or storming off stage. No, it was worse. It was the slow, creeping realization that every future interview, every speech, every public moment from AOC would now carry the shadow of that one brutal truth bomb. These moments don't just fade, they haunt. They linger, fester, and eventually reshape the narrative. Because politics runs on image and secrets, they're like tiny cracks in glass. At first, they're easy to ignore, until someone taps just the right spot. And Ana Kasparian? She was the hammer. Viewers replayed the moment like forensic analysts, zooming in frame by frame like it was the Zapruder film of political hypocrisy. Twitter was the first to explode. Hashtags flew like confetti. Some sounded like soap opera titles, others like failed crypto coins. But one thing was undeniable. Ana had done what no journalist, no opponent, no late-night comic had pulled off. She cracked AOC's armor, and the internet loved every second of it.
Now, it's worth noting that AOC won her seat in the House of Representatives by, challenging an incumbent Democrat. Okay, that was Joe Crowley, and this happened back in 2018. Again, this means that she won her seat in Congress by challenging a Democratic incumbent. That was the whole point of the Justice Democrats. So the idea that she was willing to concede to the Democratic establishment and say that she will no longer support primary challengers to Democratic incumbents is particularly rich and also very disgusting. But, maybe complying is how leaders lead, or maybe leaders lead without complying or bending to the will of the establishment that she was elected to fight.
Memes flooded the internet faster than you could hit refresh. The shocked Pikachu face got slapped over AOC's stunned reaction. WWE-style edits popped up with Ana's reveal set to entrance music and pyrotechnics. Teenagers on TikTok were lip-syncing the exchange in their bedrooms with ring lights and fake mics. Even people who don't follow politics couldn't avoid it. It was everywhere. But here's the beauty of it. Ana didn't just expose a detail, she exposed a dynamic. She revealed that the emperor of progressive politics wasn't exactly naked, but there was definitely a wardrobe malfunction. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Suddenly, people began noticing the little inconsistencies hiding in plain sight. That's the impact of one sharp live TV moment. It doesn't shift the news cycle for a day. It rewrites the narrative for months. In AOC's case, years of image building went through the shredder, while Ana lit the match. Meanwhile, AOC's team scrambled like firefighters with squirt guns, drafting and redrafting statements in real time.
She's lived in that world she's been so ensconced in that bubble that she might not realize that at all. It might have been giant news to her. And honestly, I don't know which way it goes. But look, if she got to the right place and now realized it, either way, I'd like to give her more credit if it was like a piece of strategy, right? But either way, if she got here now, good. Now the next step is the most important step. Are you then going to follow up by challenging the establishment?
Okay, that's a great question. And that's where I want to weigh in, because AOC should see this and the reactions and responses that she received from her constituents as putting her on notice. Because especially in the last 2 years, AOC has been absorbed by the Democratic establishment. She has been willing to play ball with the Democratic establishment.
And still nothing worked. Because once the internet sinks its teeth into something, it doesn't let go. Every attempt to change the subject just reminded everyone of that original moment. It was like trying not to think about a pink elephant. The more you try, the bigger it gets. Meanwhile, Ana didn't have to say another word. She just sat back and let the chaos unfold. That's the power of a truth bomb. It speaks for itself. Every retweet, viral clip, and think piece only amplified what Ana exposed. A long simmering issue finally brought to light. People devoured it like free samples at Costco. It was one of those moments where everyone just rolls their eyes and says, "Of course." AOC had built her brand as the fearless voice of the people, the anti-corruption warrior, untouchable and unwavering. But Ana showed that behind the polished speeches was a lot more compromise and contradiction. Not a scandal, worse. A reality check that the hero might not be as heroic as advertised.
A Washington Times writer with an affinity for secretly snapping pictures of women's backsides to ridicule them on social media decided to criticize Congresswoman-elect Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez over a standard black blazer. Eddie Scarry, yes, that's his name, tweeted and then later deleted, quote, "Hill staffer sent me this pic of Ocasio-Cortez they took just now. I'll tell you something, that jacket and coat don't look like a girl who struggles." Conservatives seem to have an obsession with AOC. And you know what? I can't blame them because she's pretty awesome.
And here's the kicker. People don't forgive hypocrisy easily. They'll forgive mistakes, bad takes, even scandals, if you own up to them. But hypocrisy? That's like finding out your vegan friend secretly munches cheeseburgers in the parking lot. Once it's out, credibility evaporates, and no kale smoothie can fix it. The fallout wasn't just on Twitter. News outlets seized it, YouTube channels dissected it, podcasts debated it for hours. Even columnists, usually buried in tax policy, had juicy headlines to chase. You couldn't scroll without seeing stories about the unraveling of AOC's polished image. Every outlet spun it differently, but the message was clear. Ana ripped off the mask, revealing a face far from flawless. Some called it betrayal, others bravery, and some just shrugged. Tuesday. But no matter the spin, the damage was done. AOC went from internet darling to main course, no longer cheered but scrutinized, mocked, and doubted. Her pedestal turned into a dunk tank, and Ana threw the perfect pitch.
That's a great question, and that's where I want to weigh in, because AOC should see this and the reactions and responses that she received from her constituents as putting her on notice. Because especially in the last 2 years, AOC has been absorbed by the Democratic establishment. She has been willing to play ball with the Democratic establishment. I mean, and look, to be quite frank, AOC's previous reputation stays with her. And that previous reputation was that of a disruptor, an individual who's an outsider who has managed to infiltrate the establishment. But more and more, she has presented herself as part of the establishment, as someone who thinks that.
And let's be real, politics thrives on moments like these because voters are tired of fairy tales. They crave authenticity, even if it's messy or flawed. Ana exposing the gap between the polished performance and harsh reality gave people exactly that. It wasn't pretty, but it was real. And in the long run, real always wins. As the dust settled from the online explosion, one thing was clear. AOC's image would never be the same. The progressive darling was dragged through the mud. Not by a rival or a hostile journalist, but by someone from her own side. That's what made it sting the most. Friendly fire hurts 10 times more. Ana Kasparian did the unthinkable. Turned a live TV interview into a political soap opera, a meme frenzy, and a masterclass in exposing hypocrisy. And the biggest takeaway? If one truth bomb causes this much damage, what does it say about the whole foundation?